I'd like to bring this meeting to order, the Village of Villa Park Board of Trustees, March 13th, 2023. Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll.
Yes, trustee Salella.
Here.
Trustee Corkery.
Here.
Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar.
Here.
Trustee Murphy.
Here.
Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. If we could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Okay, we move on to item 3, public comments on agenda items. Clerk Kornecki, anyone signed up? Okay, do we have anyone from the public on agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Item number 4, amendments to the agenda. Do we have any amendments? Okay, seeing none. Item 5, the consent agenda. Item 5A is minutes from the February 27th, 2023 regular meeting of the Village Board and coffee with the board minutes for February 4th and March 4th, 2023. And item 5B is a bill listing from the weeks of February 27th and March 6th, 2023, in a total amount of $658,525.10. And do we have a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Kumar? Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Kornecki.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 6A is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending Chapter 14 of the Village of Villa Park Municipal Code regarding Metro commuter station parking fees. Manager Harline.
This ordinance will remove and replace sections 14215 and 14216 of the Villa Park Municipal Code to establish 2 rates for parking in the village-owned lots north and south of the Union Pacific Railroad at the Villa Park Metro Station. Daily fees will be set at $2 a day, and fees for the 30-day consecutive periods, the essentially monthly fees, would be $35 a month. Customers would be responsible for paying any convenience fees through apps or online service. If approved, this ordinance would not go into effect until Monday, May 1st, 2023. Staff recommends passage of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion on the ordinance?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery, do we have a second? Trustee Kozar?
I'll second it.
Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Patrick?
Just one quick comment or question that came up also at Coffee with the Board. Is someone brought up that there was previously a wait list for Metro parking? Is that still in effect?
No, we used to have some reserve spots. I think there may have been, I don't know if Chief Rivas or knows if we used to have a list of people waiting to get in the reserve spots. This does away with the reserve spots. It's going to be first come, first serve. Right now, we do not have a problem with the lots filling up. Maybe 3/4 filled on the most crowded days. And if we wanted to, we could always expand the app parking areas into on the public streets, because we had some regulation of parking there in the past. So,
Okay. Any other questions? Trustee Murphy?
Yes. Have we had any resident input on this issue since the first reading?
I have not received any.
Thank you.
Trustee Kozar?
I just appreciate the manager's office for jumping on this issue. This was first brought up at Coffee with the Board and addressed to the board members that attended there, and manager's office kind of jumped on it and put it together, so I appreciate that. It's also an example of, perhaps why it's a great idea if you've got something that you're concerned about or working towards or you think could be improved, to come to Coffee with the Board. Let's start the, start the dialogue, start the conversation there, and, work to make things better. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Kumar?
Yeah, along that lines, I'd also like to say I'm very happy that the monthly fees are coming in. I think ridership is a good thing overall for our environment. I do want people to get back on the train. I love my time on the train. I'm happy to see if anything that would make it easier for that to happen.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Clerk Krenicki, please.
Okay, Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Salella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, move on to item 7A, is an ordinance authorizing renewal of aggregation program for electrical load and authorizing the village manager to execute a master power supply agreement. Manager Harline.
The village has worked with NIMAC, or the Northern Illinois Municipal Electrical Collaborative, for over a decade, and after village residents approved a referendum by giving the Board of Trustees whereby giving the Board of Trustees the authority to make aggregated power purchases. The resolution that we had attached tonight would have given us the right to purchase power directly from Dynergy, and Adam Hoover is here from NIMAC. We are not going to recommend approval of this at this point because the price changes per day. You get 48 hours to respond. A week ago, we were looking at indicative prices somewhere in the neighborhood of $7.20 to $7.50, and you can tell them where we are now. So.
Yeah, so,
Hang it.
I'm sorry, I apologize.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. First off, we have a motion for the ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Corkery?
I'll
Trustee
second that
Kumar, going to
motion.
second it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can go on.
So, yeah, sorry about that. My name is Adam Hoover. You may have seen my father, David Hoover, here before. We help purchase a different supplier for your water pumping accounts. So those accounts get a rate at 4.9 cents compared to the ComEd rate right now is 9.7 cents. So we help save money there. That's what we've been doing for over 10 years. We also have run an aggregation program with you guys before, probably 5 years ago. And what municipal aggregation is it allows you all to give approval, and we got a referendum approved in 2012 to go to a different supplier than ComEd and use the bulk purchasing power of all the residents to go find a different rate. So today, and this is what Matt was talking about, we have rates from two suppliers. MC Squared actually came in at a lower rate, and to be clear, we're not saying we execute this today, and I'll explain what the ask is today. But today, they came in at 7.6 cents per kilowatt hour for every single resident that is on ComEd. If you have your own supplier or you do not wish to participate, you can remain with who you are with. And to put that in comparison, the current ComEd rate is 9.6 cents. So we're 2 cents lower than the ComEd rate. So you're sitting here, why don't we execute that today? Why is that not the greatest idea where everyone saves money? Well, the problem is that the ComEd rate comes out in April, late April or May, and it goes from June to June. ComEd is a pretty flat rate, and you can kind of predict what it'll be once we know what that June rate will be. We expect it to go down. We just don't know how low it will go down. So currently the rate that we're all paying at our homes is 9.6, 9.7 cents. It may go down to 8 cents. It may go down to 7.5 cents is the lowest projection we have. So that's why we do not want to recommend a deal at 7.6 cents, because it would be bad if we moved all the residents over to a rate of 7.6 cents and the ComEd rate comes out at 7.5. So that is why we're waiting. And what we would like to do, and what we think is the most advantageous move, is the ordinance you have in front of you allows Matt to have signing authority so that he can wait till the ComEd rate comes out. He knows what the board says. The board says, yes, we approve this program. We think it's a good program. And then he can execute a deal. And really what we're asking is for a deal that starts in about, it would technically start in August, but once we know that ComEd rate, so let's say the ComEd rate comes out at 8 cents, then Matt can go ahead and execute a deal at 7.5 cents. He does not have to execute a deal. I want to be very clear. We will never recommend a deal that is above the ComEd rate. And so if for some reason our suppliers can't find a better rate, then you guys can continue on ComEd and there will be no change. And the one thing I will also say, just to kind of put a wrinkle into this, so one, the question tonight is, do you want to approve this resolution to give the village manager signing authority to make a deal? And the second question, if you do, You could also go with 100% green energy. There's a bunch of options I could lay out in front of you, but is green energy an option that you guys are interested in? If so, a one-year deal with green energy would move the rate up to 8.2, so it's about half a cent more expensive to move it to 100% green energy. You could also do 50% green energy and 25%. You could do any number you want, but I think the village manager like a little bit of guidance if you choose to move forward on do you guys want to go a little extra while to get green energy. Thank you for that little spiel. Questions?
I think this is an option, I'm running it, so basically you're giving us an option, it's an option to exercise it or not, so I don't see any harm in an option, it looks like a free option for us. What is our cost from this option?
None. That's why it's.
Yeah, I mean, why would we not exercise an option? And so definitely we should probably I feel we should take that option into account. I think we should discuss the green energy thing. It should be on a docket for one of our COWs, Committee of the Whole, because the discussion of whether we do 50, what it'll cost, what our residents feel, we need to know what the residents feel about cost versus green energy, and get their input.
Okay.
I will just say one quick note, is people, I just want to give you clarification. People are, if you do not have your own supplier, so if someone has gone and found that about 10% of towns do this, residents do this, go find a different supplier than ComEd, we do not opt them in. Then we send a letter to the other 90%, and by the way, they can opt in if they would like, and then the other 90% get a letter saying that if they do not do anything, they are automatically enrolled in the program, just to be clear. Anyone can opt out or opt in at any time with no cancellation fees, no penalties.
Basically, we're getting the safest rate to people who don't do their research. So to me, that is an absolute must for our people in Villa Park who may not be the type to research out the prices. So that's an absolute must. So I'm on board with exercising this option. But I do want a discussion so that we can give better headway to whoever's exercising the option in a COW.
When does that decision have to be made, the green versus?
So that's what the ordinance is saying, is that you give the village manager signing authority, because otherwise, the current process we have is we have to bring it to a board, which prices change day to day, and so that does not give us a lot of flexibility. And then the other thing is, once it comes out with ComEd coming back out, when that rate comes, there's going to be a few towns that wait to do this, and so I may not be able to be here, so we would like to be able to just kind of have him have the authority. And once again, I will guarantee that we will not have a rate that is higher than the ComEd rate.
In this, you're going to wait, though, until April anyway to make that decision?
I mean, you could technically, there's an offer of 7.6 that you could take advantage, and I really think that'd be a good deal, but I just can't promise it, and that's the worst thing that we have is when this rate is worse than the ComEd rate. So you could take a deal tonight if you wanted to. You guys have the authority to do that. But what we're suggesting, and I think what Matt also suggests, is waiting till the ComEd rate comes out.
Which is in April, you had said?
We'll know, it'll start in June, but we'll really start to know what that rate is in late April, early May.
Okay, so that'll give us time to discuss the green thing.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted, President Kazone, if I could, we went through about 7 different iterations of how to move forward with this, like having 2 contracts, one for Dynergy and one for MC Squared. I apologize. What we ended up putting in the agenda was a master power supply agreement, like we have done in the past with past village managers, which would give the village manager the authority with the, consulting with NIMEC to act on a good rate if it came in, again, because these rates change daily, they're good for 24 hours to act on it, and so unless it just, if the best rate happened to hit on every other Monday, we would lose the best deal. Now, what is not determined, what is to be determined, is based on either new comments or past input from environmental concerns and the desire to pursue some support of the mayor's conference for sustainable, and I'm going to botch the title of the document that we came out in support of back in December, I think it was. You could wait and come back and approve this authority, this master power supply agreement at a future meeting, or we could approve the authority and then come back and discuss what the green energy level is and you could do it in either order, and we could still move forward.
Okay. Trustee Corkery.
I'd just like to take a moment to shout out the Environmental Concerns Commission, because I know they've put a lot of time and a lot of effort in on making this happen, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to save money and, of course, help the environment, which is a big one. So I'll be in favor of passing this tonight. I'd definitely like to circle back and talk about the green energy options as soon as possible, because personally I feel that 1 cent per kilowatt hour is a small price to pay for a habitable planet, but I know that's not what we're talking about tonight. I just think it's exciting. But just thanks to the ECC, and I'm looking forward to seeing more motion on this.
Okay. Trustee Kumar.
I would favor giving Matt the authority to address this. However, the actual plan, I think we need more time to vet out what we're going to choose, whether we want to go green or not, and have that discussion. So I would, whenever, or quick, I agree with Trustee Corkery on speed is better to figure it out, but at the same time, we need to have that discussion.
Trustee Kozar.
I too am in favor of giving our manager the discretion to use his sound judgment for when that opportunity arrives. I'd like to talk more about the definition of what green energy is, and what that actually means. So we could do that in another board meeting. We could set some time apart from that, but at least this work is done. Question that I have for our presenter would be, I understand you're not charging the village for this. How does the presenter's company make money?
Yeah, good question. We have deals with the suppliers, and so there is no charge. We pride ourselves, you will never pay us a cent. So all our deals are with the winning supplier. We're kind of like a broker. It's probably the simplest term for you. But yeah, we pride ourselves that you will never write a check to NYMEX, so, for any of our services.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Trustee Kumar. Trustee. Clerk Hernecki, please.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes.
Thank you all,
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to item 8A, is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement for participation in the mutual aid box alarm system, the MABUS Master Agreement 2022. Manager Harline.
The Mutual Aid Box Alarm System, MABUS, in partnership with the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, established statewide mutual aid response for fire, EMS, and specialized incident operational teams since the late 1960s. The last agreement between the village and MABUS was signed in 1988. The proposed intergovernmental agreement enables the village to leverage the collective resources of MABUS to respond to emergency. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance, and Fire Chief Stapleton is here. If he helped put this together, if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, do you have a second? Trustee Salella? Okay, any questions or comments for the chief?
Come on, make him work.
Okay, seeing none, Clerk Hernecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Murphy.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Salella.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, move on to item 8B, is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, establishing the fees for the village's swimming pool for the 2023 season. Manager Harline.
In order for pool pass rates to be advertised during the month of April, staff needs to set rates in March so that season passes can go on sale Monday, May 1st, 2023. The rates were not increased in the 2022 swim season. Staff and the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission agree that the season pass rates should be increased as proposed. The proposal also includes a new family discounted rates and does not increase daily admissions for the rates charged in 2022. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. Parks, Recreation, and Fleet Director Gola is here to answer questions.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Kumar?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Patrick?
I'd like to make that second.
Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kumar?
I'm actually kind of happy to see this family pass rate come up. It's been a long time, I think, on the books. And it's good. I think we need to increase our interest in our pool and have more people come out.
Trustee Patrick?
I would also like to piggyback on Trustee Kumar's statement. As a father with 3 young kids, we spend almost every day of the summer at Jefferson Pool out there. And so the family pass really does come in handy, especially for families like ours when you have a lot of kids. So thanks to the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission. Thank you for that. And thank you to staff.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corkery?
I just noticed, looking over this, that one of the reasons that the rates are increasing is to pay our lifeguards more. And as a former Villa Park lifeguard myself, I'm happy to see that happening. It's one of the harder jobs I've had, for sure. So that's all.
Good, thank you. The one question that I have for Director Gola, the proposed schedule is June 3rd. Don't we typically open Memorial Day weekend? Or do we always open the weekend after?
We do open Memorial Day. Sorry. My assistant director, that's her baby, so she knows the schedule. And after a lot of discussion, we came up with the family rates. The pool early bird rates will go until the first day of summer.
Okay.
But as far as the pool date of the opening, do you have that?
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, that was, okay. That's a good reason. Yeah, all right. Okay, cool. That was my only question. Thank you.
She knows more than
She had the answers. I should have just asked her.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Silella?
Yes.
President Costello?
Yes. Okay, item 8C is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending a proposal from Water Well Solutions Illinois LLC of Elburn, Illinois, for the additional work associated with the decommission and abandonment of well number 10 project in an additional amount not to exceed $115,515. Manager Harline.
The village board approved a proposal from Water Well Solutions during the November 14th board meeting to decommission and abandon, for decommissioning and abandonment of well number 10. During the removal of the well pipe, the existing pump broke in half due to corrosion, leaving the remaining pump and motor near the bottom of the well shaft. The Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, through the DuPage County Health Department, requires the village to make reasonable attempts to retrieve the remaining pump and motor. Water Well Solutions has provided an estimated scope to utilize a specialized tool to attempt to remove the motor based on time and material not to exceed an additional $115,000. Staff recommends proceeding with the additional work as decommissioning and abandonment of well 10 proceeds, with the acceptance of the proposal from Water Well Solutions of Illinois LLC, Elburn, Illinois, for additional costs to attempt to recover the remaining pump and motor. Staff recommends approval of the resolution.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion? Trustee Kumar?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Corkery? Okay, any questions or comments? Trustee Kozar?
So why do we think spending $115,000 is a reasonable attempt? Seems like a lot of money. Seems like a big effort. I don't think it's reasonable. We can't drink well water in this village. We're decommissioning the well as it is. So we're not contaminating any water.
If I could. Yeah.
We'll have Director Guerrero.
I think Director Guerra could explain it better than I could, but.
And I think this is
that's
more,
exactly-
this is more of an IDPH and IEPA regulations.
Correct. As the motion was made, the well has been pretty much out of commission for over the last year due to due to its age. It's the original pump. It's pretty old. It's been down there. During the removal is when it broke in half. Now, that pump has mercury in it and oils. And so the Illinois Department of Environmental Protection Agency says we have to make reasonable attempts to remove that from the groundwater source. So this is our attempt to do that. To kind of speak on it, there's kind of a two-part system. So the other option would be to encase the pump in concrete. We've had to do that at our other pump location. However, their requirements is you have to first make a reasonable attempt to get that pump and motor out of the ground so that the risk of contamination is low. And the only way to do that is to utilize a specialized tool, for the lack of a better term, in our department we kind of call it the claw, and go down there and try to clamp on and pull it out. I agree, it's very expensive. We couldn't get a defined scope, the 115s at the top end, assuming that we have to do it for so many days, because it would be up to the Department of Health to determine, okay, you've made a reasonable attempt to get it, you cannot get it, now move to step 2. And so it's a bigger range. We don't think we'll take up to 115,000. We're hopeful that it will probably take a day to get the piece of equipment down there, because it's about 1,300, 500 feet below grade. They're going to do it with the camera so that we can try to attach, and we're hopeful to get it within a day or so. And then after that, we'll probably petition to abandon the attempts and abandon it in place with concrete. However, we just can't pull our, we've filed to decommission the pump. It's been approved to decommission, so we just can't wash our hands and say, leave it down there due to potential contamination. We have to try to retrieve it now.
Go ahead.
What other solutions would fit into that reasonable bucket other than $115,000 claw going down there to potentially pick it up and maybe not even succeeding?
Unfortunately, not much. That's about the most cost-effective way. We did ask if we could move to encasement. However, they don't that's an option they prefer not to go to unless you cannot get it out of the ground. So this is about the only way we could try to attack it.
Trustee Solano.
From past experiences I had, I thought the IPA allowed bentonite to be used to abandon the well and encapsulate any derelict equipment that couldn't be retrieved, to speak of the mercury and oils and whatnot into the aquifer. Is that not an option anymore? Just concrete?
That was what was presented to us of what would be allowed by the Department of Health. We do have bentonite still in the original one to plug that hole. So once everything's out, they were going to put so much rock and then bentonite to cap on top. What I was told was that they would prefer concrete if we cannot get it out. But I think their first preference, which we have to attempt to do, is to try to get it out.
Isn't it usually that they want bentonite above the water table?
Yeah, so...
Yeah, so because what do they use, pea gravel? Chlorinated pea gravel
It's supposed
first?
to be like triple washed, clean pea gravel.
Right.
Or a certain aggregate base all the way down. The design has to be approved for the closure, has to be approved by the Department of Health, where they calculate, usually you fill, say if this all came out like we thought it would, I think there's a photo in the packet that shows majority was coming out and then it had sheared. We would have had to ship that pump off, get decommissioned, get the mercury and oils all out of it at a location down in Texas. And then, yes, the approved closure of the well would be you fill the bottom of the well with aggregate. I think in this case we were looking at like triple washed pea gravel. Usually you go so far above the water line to allow for that fluctuation. And then a cap with so much bentonite chips to swell and close off that. And then a little bit of, depending on where your location, cement or topsoil so it fills in. Unfortunately, this is all has to be coordinated. How our proposal is between the contractor. They got the permit through the Department of Health, who regulates the well closures. And the department has to approve the attempts, and this was what they said that they would wish us to do, is try to get it out first before we look at abandonment in place.
Trustee Kumar.
Okay, so, you said something about a day most likely to try, and what is the cost of a day versus this max? I mean, I have really no picture of the the possible minimum versus maximum cost of this project?
So, thank you. In the proposal, as part of our original proposal, we required all the bidders to provide us their time and material cost. And so in all the original bids, we had time for what a crew would be for a day, or per hour per day, and that's how we calculated. So they're estimating, somewhere between 50 and 95 hours of a three-man crew. It does take, like I said, was my understanding is about a day, because the pipes have to be screwed together and lowered into place. That takes a while. And so the hard part is what we can't scope is just say we'll try for 1 day or 2 days. We have to get the okay from the Department of Health that you've made a reasonable attempt and you can abandon that attempt. So they have never experienced anywhere more than the top end, that 95 hours, which is about a week and a half of attempt. So the 2 weeks would be to put it together and take it apart and abandon it, is what their top end is at. So if you look at it in the proposal, they have it broken down for the crews, a little bit for the mobilization of the rig, the fuel, the rental of the tool, and then they're looking for 1 to 9 days is what they put in there for the rental of the tool. We don't think it would take, our interpretation is they're going to run a camera with it, so they can see the pump and motor while they try to attempt. That we should have a pretty good idea after about the first day if it's actually feasible or not to actually connect to that pump and get it out.
Go ahead, Trustee Kumar.
Have you asked the company in general, they've probably done this multiple times, this is not the first time, on average, how many days or day have they come across where they could either retrieve it or not?
Yeah, so that's in there. They anticipated 2 or 3 days, just typically.
So,
either they have it out or in the process of coming out, or they were able to say, hey, we've done a reasonable attempt and not been able to.
What is the cost for 3 days?
So this is time and material. I should mention this.
Yeah.
It's not 115, so it's only the cost of the time that they've spent doing this. So the 3 days would be, I'd have to recalculate based on.
So this is like a 9-day thing, but probably the upfront, the cost is more at the beginning, because there's certain sunk costs there's gonna be certain fixed
Correct.
costs. So it's some things like you're renting the pump, it's not a daily charge, I assume.
There's a daily charge for the tool. But
The tool.
yeah, the low end is what they estimated on the low end would be 48,500.
Okay.
They think would be closer to like, I'm assuming would be closer to the $65,000, 75. Like I said, unfortunately, we don't get to make the call on, we can't retrieve it. The county has to make that call.
So other than that 65 or whatever, which is probably the average cost you're kind of estimating, what other costs do we have? Because this is just to say we can't retrieve it. After that, you're going to have to do the rest of the work to fill in if you can't encase it. What is the cost involved in that?
That would have to be determined at the approved, then designed by the county. I would say we do have, the original bid was for about 80,000, which included the aggregate, the bentonite chips, the topsoil, and the time frame and decommissioning. So we do have that money still available. To date, we've only spent about $20,000 to remove all the casing and what's out there. It's only been spent about 20. I think the original proposal was approved up to 100,000, knowing that we can't, it's a big hole in the ground, and it's maybe have changed over the years. So we might need a little bit more rock, a little bit more bentonite. So this would take us to $215,000 total for the project, and I don't think we would exceed 215 total in this project to close it.
Yep.
I would probably mention on the front end, if we would try to say repair this, we'd go through all these attempts plus, so I mean, at the end of the day, this was probably well over $500,000 project to try to keep that well established. However, you can see it was fully corroded. We had several problems, so this is still the best long-term solution, even though it's pretty painful to try to get it out.
Yeah.
We're hopeful that it would all come out easy.
And you don't realize, it's down 1,358 feet. It's 2.5 miles of pipe that they have to put together, piece by
Unfortunately,
piece
yeah.
and get down there, and that's a lot of weight, and it's not a fast process. Trustee Kumar.
I have a question about Okay, piece by piece, it's put together. We're taking a well out. I am, so, okay, so we have 80,000 left, out of that, we have about 60,000 left, is what you're saying, in our original scope, plus you need 115 more.
Up to 115 more, yes.
Yeah,
Trustee Kozar.
If this well unit has broken because it's corroded, has the mechanism not corroded itself and whatever mercury you're referring to already leached into the water?
Based on the video, it looks like it's still intact, and that's why they think they can retrieve it. I probably should have mentioned that. When the first pipe came out, we did send the camera down it to take a look, and that's how we determined it's at 1358 versus its original location was 950 feet. And based on that video, they did think it was possible to grab onto an attempt. To answer your question, we can't be sure until we get it out. But usually where it corroded was what's called bowls, which is, I believe, a pressurizing system as it comes up and not the actual motor itself. It was in the pump assembly. But we would, once we ultimately get it out, that would be the final determination that everything's still intact and can be packaged and shipped.
Mr. President, I know you own an environmental company. Is there a way to go down there and just test to see if this mercury is already leached out? Because if it has, I don't know how we're going to do anything more than...
Yeah, definitely there's a way that you could sample the water to see if there's any mercury in it. At that point, if it shows that there is contamination, that would only further the IEPA wanting to get it out of there, because you have the source in there that is leaking right now. So I think we're better off not knowing that at this point, getting the pump up and seeing if there is, if it's still intact and the mercury is still in there. It would be really tough if you say there is mercury down there and the EPA says, well, now you have to somehow treat that, pump it out and keep treating it. You abandon the well, do whatever you can to abandon the well, and then you'd have to consistently treat the water. The possibility of them asking for that, you wouldn't know until you get to that point. But at this point, if they're not requesting a test on that, it's probably better not knowing at this point. Until you get it up, and then the camera seems to show that it's intact yet.
Yeah, we found it. It looks intact. It looks like there's still some pieces of the bowls that it's a good possibility that they can attach to the remainder and get it out. If it wasn't, then I don't think the EPA, it would be, like President Casson said, would be looking at other alternatives, which also may be more costly.
Yeah, a lot more costly, yeah, sure.
Seems kind of a double-edged sword. On the one hand, we don't want the leaching because the mercury is bad, right? On the other hand, you're saying, let's not know if we're leaching because the mercury is bad and it's expensive.
Well, no, at this point, because you won't know until you get the well. If you have a chance to get the pump out whole, you're better off getting it out. At that point, if it is damaged, the EPA may come back and say, yeah, sample.
So if that is the case, but if we were to, and I'm just throwing this out there, if we go down there and test it and find out that there is some leaching of the mercury, would that at that point not be some sort of, kind of equipment claim that we would have an insurance policy that would cover?
That would be up to, I think you have to contact the EPA on that.
Yeah, in terms of if you're talking about like Irma, I'm not, that would be a question I can answer.
I'm referring to either a village insurance or an Illinois EPA type reimbursement to go in there and do it.
EPA, I don't believe would have any reimbursement on that.
I think you may be talking about like brown sites or different stuff. There's certain requirements. It would be something we look into, but I believe their standing is like they're current stance a lot of times is if there's a point of contamination, get that point out first, so that you're not continually contaminating, is been my experience.
Yeah. Manager, did you want to say something?
Well, well, there's a couple questions down here. I did have something, but I'd let the elected officials go first.
Trustee Corcoran.
How old is this pump? When did they put it in?
So the pump's original, my understanding is in the early 2000s, they pulled a lot of the well piping out and replaced it. But they have never replaced the pump, so it's probably nearly 50 years old, or older, that's sitting down there.
Trustee Kumar.
Quickly, some part of it was pulled out. What did they find from that part? Was there any testing or whatever?
So the part that was pulled out, that was what was called bowls. Yeah, and that's all metal.
There's a picture in the,
Oh,
So those are usually diaphragms and stuff that help pump the water up. What we had found is what we anticipated why the well was decommissioned, that there was some corrosion, there were some holes in it. And that when we were trying to pump the well, not only did we have, like, I think when we brought this forward to you last time, some control panel issues that are very old and outdated. We were losing pressure and made it very hard to pump, and some of the samples were coming out pretty dirty. So we were having to run it for a while before we could take a sample, which gave the indication that there was holes, which we found. Unfortunately, that joint between the two was probably corroded enough for that, when they started pulling it up, that weight just sheared it, unfortunately.
Trustee Corcoran.
I'd just say that, I mean, as much as the price for this hurts, even like mercury aside, I know what other kinds of chemicals are in the motor in my car, and I wouldn't want any of them in my groundwater, so it'd be good to get this out if we can.
just really quickly, though, they're going to be very particular about this because this is a well that interfaces with groundwater. So they're going to be very particular about protecting the environment, and they should be. But it doesn't hurt to ask some of these questions. But if there's a trace of mercury still in the switch or the apparatus, they're going to want us to retrieve any mercury we can if it's possible. So we'll play the $115,000 game of like the claw, on a much more technical basis, like you have at the, I think manager or Director Guerra was comparing it to trying to go to the amusement park and get the toy out. But this is on a much more serious level. So they're going to want to make sure we get all the oil and all the mercury we can out. So basically we can ask them, but they're going to be very protective of groundwater, and we're going to have to make every effort that they say we have to make. And that's so that's why we brought this proposal before you. If we can find a way of protecting the environment, working with the IEPA and doing it less expensively, we absolutely will try.
I will mention this firm. In order to abandon wells, President Casson probably knows as well, you have to be certified. You have to be licensed to be able to do it. There's only so many companies that can do it. So this is something that they specialize in, and they're very familiar with this type of work and know how to operate. They do have a guy that's kind of their expert in the retrieval. So it's not something that they're just trying. It's a proven process that they've utilized several times.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Clerk Renecki, please.
Trustee Stalella?
Yes.
Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
President Casson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item 9, public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have anyone signed up? Do we have anyone out there comments on non-agenda items?
I didn't know I was supposed to sign up. There's a form you need me to fill out.
Just right there, yep. At the
dais.
by the microphone there.
Thank you. My name's Henry Martins. I'm a 55-year continuous resident of Villa Park. I'm here with my wife tonight and some of my neighbors. I'm here to speak on something that will eventually come past your board in regards to zoning change request at 721 East Madison Street in Villa Park for special use museum or cultural facility and special use for religious assembly in the office research district in town. And this is the property on the extreme east end of Madison. On the south side, it's a 2-story red brick building. I attended a traffic and safety meeting that did not know it was up for a change in zoning. I attended the zoning meeting and was given an opportunity to speak, but I didn't have the opportunity to rebut some of the facts that were brought up there. Both of the changes in zoning were passed. We have a problem with one of the changes of zonings, and that is the special use assembly, religious assembly. The gentleman that was the lawyer for the party buying the property kept saying that there were only 50 members. The building's occupancy rating by the Village of Villa Park Fire Department is 50. The website for the potential buyer says they have 150 families, and is that 300 to 400 people? I don't know. But what concerns us is the traffic that would end up in the residential area. I know this is not the time to speak on it. It's not on tonight's agenda. I don't know what night it comes up on your agenda, but I do want to be heard, and I do want you to have the time to research this. The part of the building that they want to buy to hold as their headquarters and have classrooms to teach English and do clerical work for their mosque in Evanston, I don't have a problem with. But when you start looking at the only access to that property is off of Frontage Road at the Walmart stoplight, and when you go to leave that Frontage Road at the Walmart stoplight, when you turn north, you're put into a stop sign, and you have to try to manage through a stop sign into Walmart's traffic. Walmart has 2 continuous lanes. In the prior meetings, there was a petition brought up with approximately 28 signatures from people on Riverside and Madison.
Okay, 30 seconds.
You have 30 seconds left.
Oh, okay. And that was turned in. There were some exhibits turned in. I will wait to hear from the board on when there is a meeting to discuss that and when it gets voted on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. McLaughlin, do you know when that'll be on the agenda?
Tentatively scheduled for April 10th.
Okay, so it looks like April 10th that will be on our agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Tucker, and this is actually directed at Police Chief Rivas and our village manager. Basically, it's election time again, everybody knows that, which means that Villa Park homeowners' lawns are being cluttered with candidate signs, some of which the homeowners didn't ask for. Point in them, I personally find it a little peculiar that Carrie Alfonso would want her election signs put right next to Cardova when she went to great lengths to try to get him off the ballot, as far as she went even as far as filing a lawsuit against him to keep him off the ballot. Luckily, thanks to the people of Villa Park, that didn't happen, but it still cost the people of Villa Park about $23,000 or more before it was resolved. But that's not why I'm here. The reason I'm here is, as a homeowner, we have a lot of residents and homeowners that want to know what the village can do, or the police department, when they find election signs on their lawns that they did not approve, other than taking them down, which is normal, and throwing them away. The only problem is that they have attempted to do that, and they get put back on their lawns again without their approval. Seeing it seems some of our trustees might be part of the problem instead of the solution, I'm directing this question to you, the village manager, Matt, and to you, Chief Revis. Is there something they can do, you guys can do, that the homeowners can approach you or ask? Because it's becoming an issue, and a lot of them have asked me, and I said, I'm not on the board anymore. So they have asked me what they can do when they get signs on their lawns that they didn't request. And they take them down, and the next day they're back up.
It looks like Chief Rivas will give you an answer on that.
Absolutely, thank you for the question. Just for clarification, is this on the easement or is this on the property?
It's on, well, I don't know, because it's hard to tell what their easement is. It's on their property, so it's from the sidewalk to their house, most of these people are talking about. So it's not from the sidewalk to the street. It's actually on their property, so it would be from the sidewalk towards their house.
If it is on their property, we could come and collect it. If they have an individual who they know is doing this, we could also speak to that individual.
I
and
don't
have a
think they
conversation.
know who's doing it. I don't think they can pinpoint why it's happening. I think their question is that they're removing them without being asked, they didn't give approval to have signs put up, and then all of a sudden they got campaign signs on their property. And they don't want to be rude or anything about it, but they really don't want the signs there. And then some of them have said they've taken them down, and they find them right back up the next day or 2 days later.
Understood. They can contact us, though, and we can collect those signs, and we can dispose of them properly. Typically, when we go in and collect them, when they're on the public way, we'll put them by our dumpster and wait and see if maybe some of the candidates might want to go ahead and collect them back in case they want to use them for a subsequent election. So we'll do our best to help out. We can also do a special watch, if you'd like, if there's a particular area that's being affected, we can watch out for that.
So they can basically call you and say, hey,
Yes.
I live in such an area, and I keep getting signs put on my property. Can you watch it? So they can do some type of, or a drive-through is what you're saying?
Right. In doing this for 33 years, I've seen the gambit of everything that's gone on when it comes to electioneering and signs. So whatever it'll take to kind of calm the citizens, we'll help out if we can.
Okay.
Cheryl, have they talked to the candidate whose sign they don't want?
They've put it, but they don't know exactly the direct way or route to call them, to say, hey,
Yeah, well, I'm sure they have a
advise it on
website.
it,
If
because
they're
a lot of them
candidate.
have websites, but
Yeah.
they don't want any part of their websites.
Yeah.
They don't want to start doing that to put the signs up.
Yeah, well, they should
you know,
just contact
and-
them, and I'm sure that they can
And
contact
a
them.
lot, they don't want to have to, search to call to find out who the candidate is. They don't want to do that. They ask not to have, they don't want the signs there, and now.
Yeah. If you
because
keep
that-
taking it down,
A
eventually they'll
confrontation
get
with
the-
the candidate isn't exactly what they want to do.
Yeah.
So they kind of approached me and said, is there a way that the village can do something about it, or the police can do it, so that they can, the people in Villa Park, they want to stay quiet. They don't want to make any conflict if they don't have to, so I
Okay.
just wanted to bring it up.
President
Okay,
Kazone.
thank you. Yes, Trustee Page.
Thank you. Cheryl Tucker, thank you for coming and bringing that attention to our attention. We as candidates also have seen that and have filed multiple police reports on this as well. So police reports have been generated on stolen signs or signs being misplaced, which the police department is already aware of, and they have been very proactive in helping us recover signs or get signs that have been placed in opposite lawns as well.
Probably some of those signs probably weren't stolen, they were taken down because the residents didn't want them.
Well, that's up to speculation, but what we do know is that there have been signs that have been stolen and multiple police reports have been made. So,
I know that happens.
and then also,
Being a
Yeah, so we hear that, we appreciate you bringing that to us. It is a concern, especially during election season. We all just want to have a fair, easy campaign without having to cause any stress on any of the residents. So with that being said, though, yes, multiple police reports have been made in regards to this, and I think the police department has been doing a stand-up job with adhering to those.
Okay. Good, thank you. Okay, do we have anyone else? Public comments on, oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Kumar.
I'd just like to say, I was a candidate, and sometimes the signs just fly. It's a windy city, so understand they may end up somewhere or fly. They may be stolen. I do feel if the police department has to always deal with our signs, that necessarily, it is in the scope of their job. At the same time, I think there could be easier, nicer, more friendly ways to address this by contacting the person running for office. It's not a bad idea to get to know them anyway. They may end up one of your representatives. So if you have a problem with their sign, get to know them, say, really, I don't put out signs, or I don't want your sign on my lawn. That's fine. I mean, that's your right.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Kozar.
Well, the whole premise just kind of seems made up on Cheryl Tucker's part, that these signs are getting in the wind and just landing in other people's upright lawn. I mean, it's kind of silly. And then all these people are coming to Cheryl Tucker to tell them about these signs that are put up without permission, but, you know, they don't want to send a simple email. It just, the whole...
Hang on. Sit.
The whole premise just doesn't really make sense. That there's somebody out there sneaking signs on other things.
Please. It's not, no, he's not attacking, he's just brought up a comment. But let's, you know what, I think if, as the chief said, the police will take care of it, and if you can contact the candidate themselves, or better off, just don't vote for them. Or make it well known who you don't want to vote for. No, I don't think we need to make a federal case out of this. Correct, chief?
Right. We try and take a nonpartisan, fair approach and trying not to take a heavy hand in this, and just hopefully everybody goes about their business and realizing it's just a moment in time and peace will be restored after this is done.
Correct. Thank you.
Here, here.
Okay, we will move on to village clerk's report.
Okay, just a reminder, since we're talking about these elections, local elections, consolidated early voting does start March 20th, just so we know that. Our closest locations to us, which are two temporary locations, is the Elmhurst City Hall that we've always used often on York Road, and the other is the Oak Brook Village Hall at 1200 Oak Brook Road. So those are temporary locations, but, you know, that's for early voting. And then the one that's like always the permanent location is Addison Township. So they're open also starting Monday the 20th, March 20th. And there are other locations farther from us, but these are the closest ones, plus Yorktown. I believe there's a location there, the county fairgrounds. So if you want to go different locations, that's fine. But it starts the 20th. And actually, temporary runs through April 1st. And then Addison, in this case, the permanent location is until April 3rd. So we got plenty of time, but, you know, just be aware of it, that this is a local election. These elections that we have at this level, school board, these village, you know, library, these are elections that really affect us very closely, very personally. So do take an effort to vote and figure out who you think would be the best in all these different locations, different positions, because they are very important, even more, sometimes more important, meaningful to us, sometimes than even the county and the state, because this is like your day-to-day, you kind of deal with these continuously. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, move to a village trustees report. We'll start on my left. Trustee Kumar.
I have nothing for today.
Okay. Trustee Corkery?
No report this week.
Okay. Trustee Murphy?
No report, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Patrick?
Well, good evening, everybody. I will add to the table here. First of all, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. This Friday is the only day of the year that everyone is Irish. So I want to wish everybody a happy St. Patrick's Day, and also just to be mindful, remember to drink and celebrate responsibly. We do have a fine police department out there that will be out and patrolling, but please, drink and drive responsibly. Well, don't drink and drive, but drink and celebrate responsibly, and enjoy the holiday. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody.
Thank you. Trustee Kozar.
Earlier, at our 6 o'clock COW meeting, again, I just want to say I think that was very productive. I like the kind of roundtable concept where certain ideas were brought up, and we, as trustees, we had the ability to converse and have a little dialogue on certain things that weren't necessarily up for vote or on the agenda, but things that, you know, we're talking about so that we can eventually bring those on. So I like the evolution that we're trying to give to the COW, Committee of the Whole, for those that don't know. So I think that's good progress. More talking is better. That's it.
Okay. Trustee Salala.
Just one item. I'm wondering if in this year's budget, we have dollars aside for repair, replacement, or upgrades to our clock, our central clock by the Prairie Path. That one in the picture there on the screen. It's right twice a day.
Well,
It's just,
there were,
it's such a nice looking clock. If it worked, it'd even be
Sure.
nicer.
That's right, twice
Yeah,
a day.
twice a day.
that clock is, as beautiful as it may be, is a very, it's, the parts for it are available in only one place. The cost, I think, is somewhere in the neighborhood of $20,000+ to repair it. It was originally, I believe, donated by the Rotary Club, and I guess it is ours now. It's not, I think when we tried to determine if it was ours or not, I think possession being 9/10 of the law, it is ours now. That was not something that made the final cut. We can move some things around, but right now, one of the things that the staff pointed out in the recent survey was the condition of city buildings being extremely unpleasant. Some of them are so unpleasant or difficult to work in, so we had put more money into that. We can adjust we can adjust our budget, but I would think that is possibly something that we could try and do some fundraising to try and get.
It doesn't even have to be the same, it doesn't have to be the same works that are inside that clock that get repaired. There's got to be alternative replacement clock works.
Director Gold, I think, would like to speak on that.
You'd think.
5 o'clock.
We did this several years ago because we tried to get it replaced, and we had it fixed maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Each face of the clock has its own mechanism. So what we tried to do, there's the reason for the $20,000 was just to synchronize all of them into one mechanism for each face of the clock. That's what was the expense. So we can certainly go down that route again.
Couldn't we at least like replace one of the faces that faces the street and maybe put decorative plaques on the other three?
It's an option.
I mean, one clock would be better than four broken.
Yeah, there's all the mechanisms. It's crazy to have 4 mechanisms in there.
I'm seeing a nice little round clock right above the doorway. Stick those up there.
That's an idea.
It's such a nice looking clock to see it
Yeah.
idle.
I have a question. Is it a possibility to make it something other than a clock? You know, just change the faces into something else. Do we need a clock now with everybody running around with their phone?
It's a nice touch to the
Yeah,
town.
it's a
Not hominess.
originally a clock, I think you want to keep it a clock. Yeah, but it's something to look
I
at.
mean,
We can revisit the cost
barometer, we
of
could do
one
different-
mechanism.
And I have
You
talked
don't
to a
need
few
all
people
the
about.
faces to be-
Hang on.
Yeah.
I have talked to a few people about possibly fundraising for that. But it's getting them to jump off, but maybe it's time to speak to them again. Maybe we can look at some
Maybe
kind
the
of.
Fund Commission could put something on.
Yeah, or the kids, scout or something like that.
So if you've ever watched the movie Back to the Future with Saving the Clock Tower
That's
and
right.
fundraising events like that, this is the first that I really knew that it was actually broke, except for it being right twice a day. But I do think that $20,000 is a very manageable number to fundraise with. And I think that with the help of the Villa Park Cable Commission, maybe even the Historical Preservation Commission, and some of the other commissions, we can save the clock tower.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll have to get a new updated price, though. That 20,000 was a few years ago, so.
Okay.
Oh, sure, now rain on everybody.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Solillo.
That's all I got.
Okay, good. Okay, Village President's Report, I just got a couple of things. This Saturday, the 18th, is electronic recycling at Village Hall from 9 to 12. So if you're a Villa Park resident and you have any kind of TVs or clocks or whatever, or if you have some old clock paraphernalia you want to drop off from 9 to 12. And I just want to bring up, yesterday, Manager Harline, Chief Rivas, and myself attended the Islamic Foundation, their pre-Ramadan breakfast. The Islamic Foundation, they usually hold three or four times a year. They try to do outreach to local officials and local religious outlets, and they do a really nice job. It was about an hour and a half long. They had a very good breakfast. It was definitely filling. It was a good time. And then they got groups at your table, and you had discussions about Ramadan and discussions about community and the ideas behind it. And it was an excellent morning. We had I think I enjoyed it. I think the chief and the manager enjoyed it. So just want to give a shout out to the Islamic Foundation. They did a great job on that. And with that, we'll go to the village manager's report.
First is a thank you to the Finance Director, Chuck Howard, and I have for him here a Distinguished Budget Presentation Award, which suitable for framing. The Distinguished Budget Presentation Award program started in 1984, and it celebrates the very highest quality and promotes the various high quality budget development that reflect the National Advisory Council on State and Local Government budgeting and GFOA's best practices. The government we have recently received and our 2022 medallion to put on the award, and which was enclosed with a letter from GFOA to Charles Howard, our finance director, and I'd like to present that to him for his staff and the rest, actually the entire staff of the Village of Villa Park, and also the contributions of our elected officials to put together this year's. This is actually the 1 year back. It's the 2022 budget presentation, but it has been adopted and it has been evaluated and passed the rigorous tests for the GFOA's Distinguished Budget Presentation. So,
Congratulations.
probably Mike Guerra deserves to be recognized for this as well, since he was.
And as part of our budget process, you've all been through it and we've all been through it. This is kind of the closing part of our budget process, submitting it for review. So our 2023 that, we just, submitted will be part of this process too, and they'll have to send us a new plaque because we filled this out. So thank you all the staff and all the support for keeping this going. So certainly is appreciated. Thank you. Thank you.
Then one other item which kind of came up today, and I hope to get some resolution, trying to figure out what we can do in terms of a candidate forum. We have traditionally held that in a village building, but speaking to our attorney today, it is it could be considered political activity, in which case we can't do it in the village hall. And so trying to find a way, I just want to make sure that that's the path we want to go tonight. I think that this is to find a public location to do this. I think it's a valuable, having been a candidate before, I think it's a valuable thing to have to take place, but I don't want to get afoul of state or local ordinance. So I'm looking for options, and before I contact the Junior Women's League, who has hosted and put this together. I just, that's all I have to say, so.
First off, I think our village attorney, what the opinion on that, about having the candidate forum here at Village Hall?
Correct.
Which we've done for, many years.
Right, I can't speak to what was done in the past,
Right.
but the event that is proposing to be taking place is a political event, and as such, it can't be held on a village facility, because that is utilizing the resources of the village paid by taxpayer funding for a political purpose. So this type of event should be held in a private venue, and public funds should not be utilized for the event.
Okay. Is it possible to rent it for a fee? Would that be allowed or no?
No, that would cause other problems with respect to renting the village facility. Then the village building should not be used for political purposes, so no,
Okay.
you shouldn't
Okay.
do that.
Okay.
What about one of the local schools? Is that a possibility?
The local schools, the library, they're all separate organizations. If they interpret the law differently and can host it, we really don't have any control over them. But, our interpretation would have been based on, I don't want to go against legal counsel advice, and I think that that's a pretty clear, the boundaries have been set, and we've looked at now, which we hadn't, I guess, before. It shouldn't be done here.
Trustee Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, the Junior Women's Club Political Forum, I believe, is an essential event for our local elections in making sure we have transparency and just getting information out there about our candidates and who is running for office. A lot of people attend that event. A lot of people rely on that event to educate themselves on the candidates. I would request that the village assist the Junior Women's Club to help them find an alternate location or a business in town that might be private that would be willing to accommodate them if we are able.
Well, when you say that, village staff should not be utilizing their village
Okay.
time for political purposes either,
Okay.
so that would be somewhat of an issue.
Can the trustees in their spare time, or I guess anybody who sees this as an important thing, can put forward their efforts to do this, not using
Yes.
city
Any
time?
individual on non-compensated time, whether that be an employee or an officer of the village, can do what they want in that respect.
If this is the direction of the village board and the manager, then and your council is saying that this is the direction that we are going, then I will make sure that at least I will assist on my own time the Junior Women's Club to find an alternate location.
Okay, good thing. Trustee Kumar.
My only fear is it's been a precedent and in the same location for years and years and years. And so, and I know that, legally that, there may be issues, but at the same time, it's a precedent for a historical grandfathered thing that has been going on in Villa Park for years and years and years and years. So
Well, my understanding, it wasn't always at Village Hall. It was at a different location,
it was at
but it was
Iowa
owned by
Community
a village
Center.
facility. Right.
It was always a village facility, though,
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
It's just a violation of the election code and the State Official and Employees Ethics Act. You can't use public funds for political purposes or for election
No, I
activity.
understand the public funds,
So-
but that's why we asked about rental. If the women's club goes ahead and rents, Iowa Community Center per se, then that's not using public funds. It's just
Technically it is, because you're utilizing the resources, you're turning on the lights of the facility, and the village taxpayers are paying for that. I mean, so the the law is pretty clear that you cannot use your village facilities for political purposes or election activities like that. Or campaigning activities, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay. Anything else, Manager?
No, just,
Okay.
we do have items for executive sessions.
Yes. Excuse me. Okay, we do have a couple items for executive session today pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, C2 regarding collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representative, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Item C6, the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the public body. C11, regarding litigation when action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before court, or when the village finds that an action is probable or imminent. And C21, discussion of executive session minutes. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Trustee Patrick.
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Corkery? Okay, Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Murphy?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee, let's see, who am I? Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Salela?
Yes.
President Cassell?
Yes. So we will adjourn our meeting out of executive session. We will be back here on March 27th for our regular board meeting, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you for watching and attending.